What is up? We're still in tariff time. Is that what time it is? Lots of tariffs going on. Tariff-tacular. It was nice listening to Chris talk about his kid playing baseball. They're dressed up. He gets to be a little Met. They probably have the whole outfit. When I was a kid playing baseball, I wore jeans and a purple jersey. And we were sponsored by Shady Acres, which was a mini golf place. Remember the bad
Sounds more like a retirement home.
I know. It was. It was fat. It's like Chico bonds. Remember Chico's bail bonds on Bad News Bears?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Chico's bail bonds.
So you didn't get the pants with the built-in belt?
Nope.
And the pull-up socks?
Nope, got none of those.
Oh man.
It sucked. You know, like we were playing, who you guys playing? And like that's your team wasn't called, they were called whatever your sponsor was.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're playing Mari's Pizza.
Yeah. Boffman Lumber.
Exactly. Oh, that was awesome. Back in the day. Now these kids are all done up, man. Even like you didn't get the full uniform until you got into, you had to go up into when you were 13 or whatever when I was playing. You got the cheesy ghetto, whoever your sponsor was. Oh, my Lord. I played 2 years of baseball. My dad played. He was in the Cardinals organization for years.
All right.
And I played 2 years, and he goes, "You hate this." And I said, "I hate it." He goes, "I don't care if you hate it." I said, "I like soccer, Dad. I run around. It's great." He was my
exercise, that soccer.
He was my first soccer coach. He had no idea what he was doing. He was reading a book on the sidelines. My mom's like, "I signed him up for soccer, and you're his coach." And my dad's like, "What?" Yeah, no idea. No idea what he was doing.
I just have this visual of him standing off to the side with this book that's open to the center, and he's reading the rules of soccer.
He was. He's got the book open, and he's like, you're going to go there, and you're
you go there.
You go there. How many guys are we supposed to have up at the front? I know we'll put like 7 of them up there.
Now, how many go in the net?
Yes, it was everything. I remember those days, though. I love those days. And then it gets serious now, man. Sports get serious fast for kids.
Man, as a kid in Little League, we would practice maybe 2, maybe 3 times a week, but I'm thinking maybe 2 times a week, and then we would have one game on the weekend.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. We didn't have coaches that were like coaches. Like it was a volunteer. The guy wasn't a coach.
Yeah.
Was somebody's dad or whatever, an older brother, and they would coach us, and we'd go out and we'd play, and it wasn't serious like it is. And there was a season. It was like, well, this is baseball season, and then this is basketball season or football season, and this is soccer season. Nowadays, it's like you find a sport, and you just, there it is. That's the only sport you do.
It's that family's whole life.
Yeah. And I was watching somebody the other day talking about, they were talking about pro athletes. They say, who makes the best pro athletes? And they said, it's all of these. The kids who play multiple sports are far better than kids who just focus. Now, you get to a certain age when you're like 14, 15, 16 where you focus, but not when you're 8.
Yeah.
It's like, goodness, I couldn't even imagine that. It's crazy. And they're all year. Like we had, baseball was this, this 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple weeks off, and it was on to basketball or whatever, or flag football if you were in junior high, because we didn't have tackle. Yeah. So, it was just, now it's like, these kids, too, they're like 11 and 12, and they're having Tommy John surgery on their arm. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we've got family that we don't see because the only spare time they have, they're off running around the country playing baseball.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and for myself, my son, he is amazing at golf, but his passion is hockey. So, and he knows he's at a level where he doesn't know how much longer. He likes the team aspect of it and stuff. But my little brother who coaches, he goes, these kids he's got kids that are like 10. They're living in California playing hockey. Mm-hmm. And their parents live in other parts of the country. Yeah. They have billets where they stay. They pay parents to basically babysit their kids and make sure they go to school And most of these kids, they go to a private school that they do 3 or 4 hours of work in the morning, and they're on the ice the rest of the day. My goodness, that's insane. I mean, I would have loved that. Once I found soccer, I didn't want to play anything else. Although I kicked when I was in for football, but I didn't want to play anything else once I found soccer.
Yeah.
But it had to be my choice. And, and we were too poor to play in a good club for a while because we was poor white trash. We was poor white trash. You ain't playing on anything.
Yeah, my family, we were not traveling around the country so I could play baseball.
No.
That was not happening.
That was not. They're like, well, you know what? My buddy who coaches big-time club soccer in California, he this is the way he does it. He always has 1 or 2 stupid rich kids on his team. It's like, hey, if Cody wants to make the team, these 4 kids over here, their parents can't pay for anything. So Dad's like, I hear you. Just letting you know. I might even put him in this year. You don't know.
You never know.
You never know. Anything. So we got a fiery plane crash in Boca.
Mm-hmm.
We had it is so tough to watch that plane. I mean, that helicopter go down because you're watching something where there are little girls on there who are moments away from losing their lives.
Right before they're going to die.
And, the conspiracy theories. Enough with can you just stop with the conspiracy theories? Not everything's a conspiracy.
It's never going to end, dude.
And my buddy who I play soccer with, I did when I was in Arizona, he's a pilot for it's like Southwest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He was a helicopter pilot, though, for years. And he used to tell me all the time, it's not if, but when it goes down. They will go down.
Yeah.
Helicopters go down a lot. And most of the time, they're hard landings, but they do go down. But you will, if you fly long enough, they will. And he goes, you know how you know that they're really scary? Because you get a lot of pilots like, I'm not getting a helicopter.
Well, both Kobe and Stevie Ray Vaughan would probably agree with you wholeheartedly.
That's right. I mean, but Kobe pushed his luck, right? Like that
was horrible weather.
You had a guy who was trying to use his iPad to go through, an area where she'd never have been.
Yeah.
But it looks like you said, somebody, it looks like the propellers came loose and then it sawed it in half.
Yeah.
Which was, and then it was at that point in time, it was only 16 minutes. You ever been in a helicopter?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I've been in a few helicopters.
It's different.
It is very different. I was a kid.
I was a kid too.
Growing up in Southern California, my family owned a couple shops. My grandmother on a place called the Queen Mary. So the Queen Mary was, it's Queen Mary's, one of the original ships. And they used to do like harbor tours. And because I was on there every day, I knew everybody. So, I would go on, this is how crazy it was in the 70s. I became friends with the pilot, and I would go out and do a harbor tour with him, and my family never even knew where I was.
Yeah.
But and it's one of those, remember in Jaws 2 when it was one of those pontoon ones?
Yeah.
And they crashed a few, I hadn't gone on it for a while, but they crashed eventually. And
just like the nylon.
The nylon.
You're sitting on nylon. Yeah.
Once I saw Jaws 2, I'm like, I'm never going on one of these things. I know what happens to this. Oh, my Lord. A lot of stuff to talk about today in the news. Including, yes, China has spoken.
China now raising import taxes on goods from the United States to 125% as the tit-for-tat trade war escalates even further. The announcement from Beijing coming hours after Chinese President Xi Jinping said there were no winners in a tariff war. China faces a 145% levy on some of its goods imported to the United States as President Trump zeroed in on China as a target while pausing tariffs on dozens of other countries. In announcing the latest tariff hikes, China's Commerce Ministry again said China would fight to the end. But the statement also suggested this might just be China's last tariff increase, saying if the U.S. raises rates higher again, China will ignore it.
My question is, and maybe one of you guys, I've talked to several people over the last 24 hours. What is the end game with us in China?
That's what we don't know.
Well, that's just it. What is the end game? I keep wondering, okay, we're doing this. Well, we're going to get rid of the trade deficit. Okay, but they're still going to make money off of us, and they'll make more money off of us because we do still spend a ton of money there. Is the end game what? Because if we really believe, which I do, they lie, they cheat, they steal, the Communist Party. They hold their own people accountable around the globe to make sure that they give them all the information they possibly can on everywhere they are. They want world dominance. They are not interested in anything other than that. They don't want to be our friends. They're not our pals. If we're really serious about doing this, then we should say, if you're with us, it's uncoupling. It's not we can be pals or frenemies or acquaintances. They want to destroy everything that we believe in, not just here, but globally. So choose a lane. Or is it this is just something to show everybody how tough we can be and you better not mess with us? I have no idea. I do not know. And everybody I've asked gives me you know what? That's a good question. Just like, I was curious about what the end game is. Because if it's about money, I mean, if it's just about a trade deficit and tariffs, we're still going to be able to work over there. We're still going to be able to do things over there. We're still going to be able to spend money over there. They're still going to get some of it and a decent amount. They're still going to be able to move their influence. And Xi also knows he's got nowhere to go. He's got nowhere to go. He understands there's no winners in this as far as the short term. Long term, I think there's no doubt us and the rest of the world, those who sided with us, would come out ahead. But to what end? Because you back a guy like that up, and unlike what's going on with the Pooter, I think at some point in time he'd make a move on Taiwan. Would he try for the Panama Canal? I mean, this is the kind of thing that this guy is about because he understands what his country's going through. They would have, it would be destructive for their nation. And he also has to deal with the fact that his unemployment amongst the youth, and many of countries have been toppled because the youth doesn't have anything going for them. So just curious about the actual end game of this. Talk a little bit more about this today. A bunch of stuff, immigration news as well. And that story, man, of was there Julian, the wife of the Weezer?
Yeah.
Gets weirder.
Yeah, what's the latest on that?
So the latest on that was she swears she thought she was trying to protect her neighbor and her house is what she's saying. Yet you could hear the cops go, "We're the police, put the gun down." And she just keeps shooting.
Yeah.
So, because the guy was in the neighbor's house or tried to, and then was in the neighbor's backyard. And she said she was trying to protect the neighbor and her, which is fair because they were there.
That's true. That's true.
But then she got shot and went in the house. And then she came back out with their babysitter and the kid. It's just an odd thing. They're not worried about it. The guy, the Weezer dude's like, we'll be fine.
Coachella.
Yeah, that's it. What a nightmare. What do you guys hear about Coachella? Anytime you think traffic's bad somewhere today, this will change your mind. It is crazy. Talk about that. A lot of other stuff to get to today. Reach out to us across all of our social media. Like us on the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up because the more thumbs up we get, the more that we can send Chris and his family to camp because they're very excited about that.
No thumbs up, no camp for the kids.
No camp for the kids. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be the people that left Chris out.
And just so people are clear, this isn't Chris saying he can't do it. He's saying he won't do it if we don't get a certain number of thumbs up.
Well, not only that, but he also said if we don't get enough, if we only get so much, he's going to send him to a work camp.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
So we don't want him to go to a work camp. We want the kids to go to like baseball camp or something. So make sure you give us a thumbs up there. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, everywhere else. And we're not quite on Rumble, but we will be. It's the Chad Benson Show. Super Tough, 99.7. With the world the way it is right now, you need to figure out how you can protect all the things you have. And are you working with somebody when it comes to your investments and your retirement that is building something specifically for you, not sticking you in some sort of of situation where we've got these systems and we've got this, but something that's absolutely built for you that protects the downside and gives you the most upside potential. I want you to call and get a second opinion with my buddy, Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer over at Bulwark Capital. This guy knows so much, and he's forgotten more than I'll ever know. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. In the way that they look at the markets, the way that they do things globally, and it's not just about stocks and bonds and stuff. It is everything. They leave no stone unturned to give you the best of the best. Call, get a second opinion today, 866-779-RISK, 866-779-RISK, or check out everything they do at knowyourriskradio.com, K-N-O-W, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Check Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments fall risk, not a guarantee. Past performance, not guarantee future results. Check 24173.
All right, drivers, we have a 42-minute delay westbound 24 in Pleasant View. You've got a crash there at the McMahon Hollow Road overpass. Then in Pegram, a stalled semi blocking the right lane, 40 westbound right before McCrory Lane. And crews have recovered the body of a kayaker reported missing last night at Percy Priest Lake. These stories are more at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It all started with an unrelated hit-and-run crash. 3 suspects fleeing the scene into a nearby neighborhood. Police quickly apprehended one of the suspects. That's when 51-year-old Jillian Schreiner, the wife of Weezer's Grammy Award-winning bassist Scott Schreiner, emerged from her home next door, brandishing a gun. According to police, she pointed it at officers, at which point they fired, striking her in the shoulder. She was taken into custody and transported to the hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, non-life-threatening injuries. By the way, she announced last month that she had cancer and she was recovering at home from a hysterectomy and another surgery. Wow. Yeah, so this has not been a good few days for her.
No.
But so they never caught 2 of the 3 suspects. One of them was essentially naked in the neighbor's yard after trying to get in the house.
Yes, of course.
And because
that sounds reasonable enough.
Well, he was watering the plants or whatever. And that was he was stripped down to his boxers because that's what you do. Like, nobody's going to notice who you are. Oh, yeah, you don't live here and you're naked. So there's that. So there's nothing to see here. And you can hear them saying, "We're the police," and she just doesn't respond. And except for shooting. So they got assault with a deadly weapon and attempted murder.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I bet you any kind of money this ends up getting dismissed.
I think so, too, because by the sounds of it, it was in the backyard, because that's where she was originally, in the backyard, because the guy had jumped over the several fences. And that's why she was, and she, if you know what, like, I went and looked at some of her stuff, she liked a gun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she loved herself some shooting. So she was not, but it was kind of, I mean, you think about it, she gets shot, like, in the shoulder, and she's kind of like, apparently she went in and she just tried to calm everybody down. Hey, everything's going to be okay. And she'd been shot in the shoulder. Just,
man.
Oh.
She is going to end up making a case for the fact that she was on medication after surgery and wasn't quite herself.
Well, you got shot and you wander around a little bit, unless you're, I mean, you would think that maybe she was on some medication. And speaking of Coachella, because her husband, so he's like, hey, thank you for your well wishes. My wife's all right. We'll see you at Coachella.
See it.
Get ready for this. They're calling it Fire Festival 2 before Fire Festival 2. So Thursday, you can line up Wednesday morning into Thursday. That's when they open up for the campgrounds. 12-hour wait before you even get to pull in to be searched. And then from there, it's another 2 hours of traffic is what it's been.
That's kind of like Bonnaroo down in Manchester.
It's a hard no.
It's nothing like that, huh?
Well, for you know what? This is me. Like, what's the parking lot?
Oh.
If the parking's bad, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I won't go. I don't care. If it's crowded, I'm not going. If the parking's bad, I'm not going. I'll drive myself at best, and I'll park far away.
Now, in my 20s, yeah, I'm there.
Was it Neighbor Gotzi talks about, like, when your buddy calls you in your 20s, and you're like, he doesn't even have to, do you want to? Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't even matter, right? In your 30s, you're like, yeah, okay. Anyway, what's the parking?
Let me check.
Yeah, okay. What time does it start? In your 40s, you're like, no.
No.
I don't even answer the phone. Oh, goodness me. Oh, man. So much stuff. We're going to talk a little immigration. Obviously, consumer sentiment is out, and it is not good, by the way. And the consumer confidence is the indicator in so many ways when it comes to how our economy is going to go. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We got some other interesting and fun stuff as well. Reach out to us across all the social media. And remember, we're not on Rumble yet, but go like and subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube, and thumbs up, super like for Chris's kids. The more likes we get, the more they get to go to baseball camp, as I said, instead of work camp. It is Chet Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we're tracking a couple of problems for drivers right now. We've got over on 40 westbound before McCrory Lane. Caller, or rather a super texter, tells us that semi is off on the shoulder, actually off of the shoulder and over in the grass. But TDOT is telling us that the right lane is blocked. That's probably got to do with some construction that's in that area and maybe the first responders. So that could be a bit of a backup. Looks like they just cleared that crash, 40 westbound. They're 24 westbound in Robertson County. That had been about a 65-minute delay. Now it looks like they've got it cleared, and folks are trying to get back up to speed there. Just yesterday, 6 people, included 3 children from a family of 5, died in a helicopter crash into the Hudson River in New York City. This morning, 3 people died when their small plane crashed and burst into flames near a busy interstate in Boca Raton, Florida.
3 on the plane, 3 souls on board, and we can confirm those were all fatalities. 1 gentleman on the ground he hit a tree because of all the debris and the fire. It's non-life-threatening injuries on him.
That's Michael LaSalle, the assistant fire chief for Boca Raton Fire Rescue Services. Here in Tennessee, crews have recovered the body of a kayaker at Percy Priest Lake. 73-year-old Don Slusser from Pittsburgh was reported missing by his wife around 8:30 last night after he had disappeared as that storm moved through the area. We're monitoring reports that a preacher from East Tennessee was kidnapped at gunpoint in the middle of a sermon in South Africa yesterday. The Motherwell Township Fellowship Baptist Church blog says 45-year-old Josh Sullivan, his wife Megan, and 2 children arrived in South Africa in 2018, and Sullivan listed his contact address as being in Maryville, Tennessee. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Beacon Capital wants to help you with your retirement. If you're in retirement, you're nearing retirement, and you're starting to think, what is the next steps? Beacon is ready to help you. First things first, you don't want to unretire because you have to. Beacon wants to make sure you don't outlive your money, but it's not just about money. I think a lot of people think it's only about your, as they say, the numbers in your portfolio. And while that's important, that's not it. Beacon is completely unique, unlike anything else that's out there. That includes helping you with things like tax planning, estate planning, even healthcare. That's why they're committed to being your full-service investment advisor. So why don't you do this? Get a free retirement-ready toolkit from Beacon now. It's not going to cost you anything. You're going to get a Money Enough for Life book, a retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. And you can go down, say hi to them. They're local. Call 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303 for your free retirement-ready toolkit, 615-488-9303, or online at askbeaconnow.com. Did he say endtaco.com? Never end tacos. Tacos are delicious. Just want to let you guys know that. Fantastic. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, there was a hearing because there are several people that are suing the government because they were sent to El Salvador. They were sent there, and their family themselves, they're saying, hey, they shouldn't have been sent there. And so you've got a guy who was sent there, and now the judges are speaking. And you guys remember this case. Now there's the lack of a better term, the gay hairdresser everybody talks about, the soccer player. Now, the soccer player's from Venezuela. This guy is actually from El Salvador.
The facts of this case have not been contested. The government, of course, admitted its mistake. But what they had been saying is that they couldn't be ordered to return him. They were effectively trying to wipe their hands of this individual's case. He was slated for removal from the United States, just not to El Salvador. And they were attempting to say, well, it is what it is, but the Supreme Court unanimously said that can't be the case. He needs to be returned.
It was unanimous. Somebody said yesterday, well, what are the chances of, rarely anything is unanimous. I said, you'd be surprised. If you go look at the Supreme Court, we only talk about a few big cases. A vast majority of the cases are 8-1, 9-0. It's just a few of the big cases that are really cultural issues in most cases.
Yeah, 9-0 doesn't get any less bipartisan.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because you're thinking 9, there's no way. Yes, 9-0, all of them. Now, they said you got to get this guy out. You got to get this guy back. Here's the thing. This is one of the Trump people talking about, hey, no, you have to facilitate a move, right, to get him back?
You have to facilitate him getting back because the man is in the custody of another country?
Right, and I think part of what is animating that decision is that it's hard for the United States to compel a foreign country to do anything. So part of I think what's behind the court's ruling is, can they actually get El Salvador to get the person back? Now, they can direct the government to, quote unquote, facilitate his bringing him back to the United States, but that's sort of fuzzy. If there's anything the Supreme Court loves to do, Jake, it's to kick things down to lower courts so that they don't have to make a decision on
right.
it. And they're sort of leaving the dirty work to the court. But
so they told, and this is what it's been, they said Trump has the right, when it comes to the case of using the Aliens Enemy Act, to use the act, but you have to give people the due process. You have to have a chance for them to have an attorney, be heard, and you can go from there. But if the lower courts say something, you have to follow it. And I don't think they will, which is going to be interesting if they follow it or not. I don't know if they're going to or not. It's hard to get this guy back. They're pretty much saying, yeah, I think this is going to go like this. Is it really hard to get it back? Probably not. Seeing as the president from El Salvador is going to be here on Monday. Hey, you're coming.
You could bring him with him.
You could bring him with him. You got any extra room on there? Just put him on the plane. Which one is he? I don't know. So I think they're going to go, hey, can we get the guy back? No. They said no. We tried.
So the administration has been saying, you can't tell El Salvador what to do.
Right.
Whereas I think a lot of people who are on the other side of this think, of course you can. You have this deal with El Salvador. You're giving them money. They're taking American prisoners. You have Trump and the president of El Salvador have this great relationship. He's actually coming to the White House on Monday. Of course you can. They could have used stronger language, the Supreme Court. They should have said you have to do everything in your power.
Right.
They didn't.
They did not. And in fact, the agreement struck with El Salvador said there was this weird language of holding on to them while the government figures out their final disposition or whatever, leaving open the question that maybe they're just temporarily in El Salvador. So yes, they could actually try to get them back.
And that's what, if I'm El Salvador, I say, look, we're going to send him somewhere else because he's from El Salvador. And they say, well, he wasn't going to go back there because he fears for his life. It's all of this is get to the point where, everything can't be decided by the Supreme Court. At some point in time, you got to say, all right, now that we've got our rules, let's follow these things. Let's get him down, and the conveyor belt, whatever you want to say, let's get it rolling. And so they're going to make mistakes. You own up to it. You already said you made a mistake, but we can't get him back. You can get him back if you wanted to. You don't want to. I understand that, but you could, because that guy's going to totally listen. Absolutely listen to anything you say. Plus, he's coming here, so, you kill two birds with one stone. The economy. Switch back to it. There's no doubt there's some fear out there in the economy. There's no doubt because it's the economy, stupid. It's still the thing. It's still the driving force by how we do so many things, including how we vote, right? If the economy sucks, we're moving on. If the economy's great, we're not going to usually move on from that unless there's something crazy going on. And for us, The number one thing, it's not the inflation. It's not like when the CPI report out. It's always about the consumer confidence. How do you feel is how you're going to spend and how you're going to live your life. If you feel things are great, you're going to spend in a much different way than if you feel like it could get ugly.
BlackRock's Larry Fink on CNBC says the U.S. is very close to a recession and may be in one now. What do the people think? Consumer sentiment fell 11% since last month, the fourth monthly drop in the University of Michigan survey, and it's unanimous across age, income, education, geography, and political affiliation. President Trump cheerleading on Truth Social this morning, saying the U.S. is doing really well in our tariff policy. Very exciting for America and the world.
But how do you feel? Some people feel great about this. Some people don't. What do the polls say? I will tell you, I've talked to a lot of people who are worried. I've talked to some people, and it really also depends. If you're 70, you may feel a lot different than if you're 25. If you're 25, you may be living at home with your parents. You don't have the same worries as somebody who's trying to survive and to live off a certain income. If you're living close to the edge, as I hear so many people are, then you know what? Yes, higher prices. That is the number one issue that you're concerned about.
So now everything's magically delicious. Not the case. I mean, look at this. Tariffs of 10% or more on trading partners favor 39%. Opposition way up there, 57%. And of course, these tariffs are still in place. Just because you removed some of them didn't mean that you removed all of them. It was almost as if, well, I did a little something good, so everything's going to be okay. I don't think the American public's going to necessarily feel that way because there is big opposition to one of the biggest tariffs that still remains in effect.
And it's still there, and they've increased China against us. And if you're the president, you look. Don't tell me you don't look at certain numbers. Don't tell me you don't feel a certain way. You can tell us all that it's the greatest thing in the world, but if people don't believe it, then that's a tough thing. Now, I haven't bought anything yet from China yet today. We should go and see if the prices are up, right? Did that thing I want from China that was made there, was that shirt now $7 instead of a nickel? I have no idea. I don't shop on Temu either because I know Chris was talking about that, or Temu. I forgot what the other one is. Shenzhen? I don't know. Wish is owned by, I think, Walmart, right?
See, that's the problem with me and Temu is I see it as like an upgraded Wish.
Yeah.
And Wish is pretty much all garbage, so you're upgrading garbage to not as much garbage.
Yeah, Wish is like Amazon, you get pretty much I really haven't had too many issues ever on Amazon, but Wish is one of those things where you order something and you're like, you think you got G.I. Joe, and it's really like, it's upper G.I. Joe. It's like a doctor hat. And his name's spelled wrong. Wishes and Temu, those are a little different. But we're still buying cheap goods. But once they're not cheap, and once you feel it, in particular at the grocery store, that's when things change. And for people who aren't living off their retirement, it's the effect of the day-to-day dollar bills that are going to have you nervous.
One of the reasons why you see the opposition to tariffs like this is folks are afraid that prices are going to go up, right? And I guess the Consumer Index report was a pretty decent piece of news, but this is the number one economic fear, right? When you ask it, what's your number one economic fear? Number one by far is the cost of goods at 47%, right? We're still coming off those highs on inflation. It's housing costs. Number three, then you finally get to the stock market, 17. Now, that's not too shabby, right? But it's nowhere near the 47% who say the cost of goods is the number one economic worry. If prices go up, Donald Trump's approval rating will go down.
That's everybody's approval rating. What's one of the big things that Trump came in, I'm going to beat inflation. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this nightmare. We're going to get ahead of it. I'm going to beat inflation. If prices go up, people are going to get frustrated. That's just nature. I mean, yeah, unless you're dreaming of prices going up. Maybe some of you are like, I've got so much money, I hope prices go through the roof.
Trump's tariff deal, you go back to January, it was 48% who favored, 46% who opposed, so slightly more who favored than opposed. Look at where we are now in April, 54% opposed, 42% favor, Opposition's going up, favors going down. This, bottom line, is a political loser for Donald Trump, and he is losing the messaging battle on this. Americans might have been a little open to the idea of tariffs coming into this administration, but since then, their opposition through the roof.
You know when you're open for tariffs? If they don't affect you. It's that old saying, how does this affect me? Well, it doesn't. Well, then I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. The minute it becomes something where you get involved or you have to pay the price or it costs you money is the minute you say, okay, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like a tax is fine as long as I don't pay it.
Yeah, it's like
if you're paying it, that's cool, but don't tax me.
I remember this huge deal about climate change. A big study came out, and all these people were all about climate change. We're going to fix the climate, all that stuff. They've blown smoke up everybody's ass how they're going to do stuff. But when they ask them, how much money would you be willing to spend every month to offset certain things, or how much money would you be able to, almost to a person, nobody wanted to do anything because they want everybody else to feel the pain. They want everybody else to bear the brunt of something. So the minute it affects the masses, people's minds will change.
And take a look here. These are recession chances. Chance of a recession, according to J.P. Morgan. In early March, it was already 40%. Look at where it is now, 60%, a majority. How about Goldman Sachs? In early March, it was 20%. Look at where we are now, 45%. At best case at this point, it seems to me, at least according to the experts, the chance of a recession is 50-50 when you average it all together. What is happening on Wall Street, at least at this particular point, has a pretty good chance of spilling into Main Street. And those folks who are thinking those tariffs are just something that are happening down in the stock exchange in New York City aren't coming to them. They may be in for a rude awakening and a rude surprise, Kate.
Rude. It's possible. We're going to find out. We don't know what the plan is going to be, but I keep asking everybody, if we believe China is all of the things, including a nation hell-bent on dominating the world, hell-bent not on being the second superpower, the only superpower, and being able to hold sway over everybody, then why would we want to participate at all with anybody over there ever? And so that's a fair question to ask, because just knocking tariffs down, even if they were to zero them out across the board, still giving them any more money is only contributing to them continuing to grow and grow and grow their might. Let me know. What do you think the actual end game is? And how do you deal with a country that wants to be the dominant and only global power, able to do whatever the hell they want? Let me know. Hit us up on the text line, which is, Bell?
615-737-9986.
There you go. That's the one. You can hit us up right now. We love hearing from each and every one of us. Let us know what's going on. Check out us across all your social media. And if you're missing these shows, shame on you. Grab the podcast. It is Chad Bench Show. Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you something. Rough Greens is amazing. My dogs love Rough Greens. Your dogs will love them too. If you're like me, and I love my animals, I always make sure they have the best. And so I give them one scoop a day of Rough Greens in the morning, and it's changed their lives. And they're happy, they're healthy, and you could do this for your dogs. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens. Got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369. You don't have to change anything when it comes to your food. It's just a scoop a day right on top of their food. It's a $20 value. They're going to get it to you for free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Now, check this out. Watch what happens over 90 days. They have a 90-day challenge. You're going to see your dog be healthier than they've been in years. You're going to see them be happier, more energetic. Their coats are going to be stronger. Their digestive tract, all of this stuff is going to be better. So is their heart health. Take the 90-day challenge and get a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens for free with my friends over at Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Use my code Chad, ruffgreens.com. Code Chad.
All right, drivers got a crash. That's 24 westbound right before Almaville Road in Smyrna. The left lane is blocked. That missing kayaker at Percy Priest Lake has been found. It's not good news. We'll tell you about that and other top stories at 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The State Department has declined to even describe these talks as negotiations because they're saying there's really nothing to negotiate. There are two clear options on the table. Either take whatever deal the Trump administration is offering or come under attack, likely a joint strike from the U.S. and Israel.
Yeah, Iran. With all the stuff going on, they're meeting this weekend. And that is going to be interesting to see how that plays itself out because I think we're going to move quicker rather than later. I mean, they're close to getting, well, and again, the nuclear weapon, delivering it is one thing. Getting something ready is something else.
The stark reality is Iran has never been closer to a nuclear weapon. Experts pretty much across the board agree that Iran could have enough fissile material to manufacture multiple nuclear weapons if it wanted in just a matter of 1 to 2 weeks.
But deliver. How do you deliver? That's the big question. But you can't let them. I mean, you can't. And I don't care what piece of paper, Obama put together, anybody put together. Just like with North Korea, the goal was get a weapon. That's always been the goal. And the stupid Iran nuclear agreement was arguably one of the worst agreements. Even Chuck Schumer's like, wait a minute here. I just want to make sure. We have to give them like 30 days notice before we come. Hey, we're going to be coming to this building to see if you guys are doing anything illegal.
Don't clean it out before we get there, please.
Yeah, but we'll be there in a month. So, I mean, who came up? Who wrote this? It's like the Bears when they write, okay, when encountering a hungry bear, play dead. Think they'll buy it? Absolutely. They're idiots.
It's just amazes me that what they will do for the sake of being able to say, hey, we have an agreement.
Yeah. Everybody wants to have an agreement.
Don't look at the details.
It's on a piece of paper. We've got an agreement. Go look at the Climate Paris Accords. It's a perfect example. If you've ever read that, it says we'll reduce by X amount of percent, India and China. But then in the fine print, it says once we achieve this, then we'll work on that. Well,
and so many of those countries simply stated, okay, we agree to this, but there's no specifics of what they're agreeing to in terms of what their responsibility is.
But like you said, it's this, man. People want to just grab
Chamberlain getting back from, Germany.
And just holding up, look, I have a piece to everyone. It didn't matter. They were never going to do anything. It's interesting. If you study, Chamberlain, he died right afterwards, and during the war and everything. And people talk about the fact that they were adversaries, and Churchill could have kicked him when he was down, and he chose not to. Basically, he just said, look, this guy wanted to see the good in a lot of folks, and the guy he was dealing with was a scumbag. And that's unfortunate because that person was going to do whatever he was going to do. Period, no matter what anybody said. Coming up, good second hour, a lot of fun. Got some of your text coming in. Some of you are like, Chad should be on CNN. I don't want to be on CNN. I don't even like doing the TV. First of all, they're not fun. I'm just going to tell you guys this. I don't want to argue with people because people aren't interested in hearing the truth. They're interested in making a point and screaming at each other. And I've noticed, that is not my gig. I'm here for the exhausted majority. I don't want to scream at people. I want to have fun, and I want to talk about stuff that's real. And I want to be honest. You guys should respect, hey, this guy's at least trying to tell us the truth. I'm not your affirmation show. That's Bell. Bell will affirm you, right? Text him, say, Bell, affirm my whatever.
Yeah, because that'll work.
That'll work, totally. No, Bell will argue with you, too. Just letting you guys know that. Coming up, we got Ken's News. Second hour of the show. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Here in Tennessee, a kayaker has died in Percy Priest Lake. Crews recovered the body of 73-year-old Don Slusser of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this morning. His wife had reported him missing around 8:30 last night after he had disappeared as the storm moved through the area where they were camping. The Slussers are well-known marathoners, considered to be world record holders for most miles run by a married couple at more than 300,000 miles. A preacher from East Tennessee has been kidnapped at gunpoint in South Africa. Police in the Motherwell Township say 4 armed and masked men burst into the church in the middle of a sermon, stole at least 2 cell phones from the congregation, then left with 45-year-old Josh Sullivan in his own pickup. The church's blog shows Sullivan, his wife, and 2 kids arrived in South Africa back in 2018 to take over the Fellowship Baptist Church there. Sullivan listed a contact address of Maryville, Tennessee. U.S. State Department is aware of the kidnapping. Federal investigators on their way to the scene where a small plane crashed and burned near I-95 in Boca Raton, Florida this morning.
3 on the plane, 3 souls on board, and we can confirm those were all fatalities. 1 gentleman on the ground he hit a tree because of all the debris and the fire. It's non-life-threatening injuries on him.
That is Michael LaSalle, the assistant fire chief there in Boca. What went wrong in New York City? Investigators at work following that deadly helicopter crash in the Hudson River off Lower Manhattan yesterday, killing a tourist family of 5 and a pilot. ABC News aviation analyst John Dance says the chopper make is reliable.
This is a Bell 206. It's a Jet Ranger, and it's one of the most ubiquitous helicopters in the world. Very, very safe record, and it's a workhorse. It up and down all day long, especially for this company.
Markets reacting to tariffs.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. After raising tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%, President Trump says he's open to trade talks. So far, China not backing off, imposing 125% tariffs for U.S. goods starting tomorrow. That's added more uncertainty for Americans looking for a safe landing for investments. Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver says U.S. bonds are typically a place investors shift to during sell-offs.
The U.S. 10-year Treasury is the most widely held, most trusted asset on planet Earth. It's held by countries like China, Japan, throughout Europe, but also the biggest institutional investors and the biggest hedge funds. When you see them selling treasuries, prices falling and yields rising, it tells you that they have growing doubts about the United States economy ability to continue to grow as it faces higher tariffs and probably higher inflation, maybe slowing growth, but also this administration's ability to keep its word and have a coherent strategy around tariffs.
Turning to sports, Falls quarterback Nico Iamaleava, a no-show at today's spring practice in Knoxville amid what ESPN writer Pete Thamel says are contract negotiations before the transfer portal opens. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Whoa. I always get to hang out with some of the nicest people. I always get to hang out with some of the nicest people.
It's Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. I've done like 18 shows, and I was on Chicks on the Right this morning in between my shows.
Only 18?
Only
You're
18.
slacking, dude.
Last night I
What
had to
is
go
with
home
you
and do a bunch
slacking?
of stuff, and I'm like, my God, it's just one of those It's like nonstop this week. You know what it is? It's a nonstop with Trump and the administration and the media, because the media is just all up in it all the time because they love it. They feed off of him. And he feeds off of them.
I loved when you were telling me yesterday about how little extra work you ever had to do during the Biden administration.
Yeah, so
versus Trump.
Here's a snapshot of how I do my stuff. So I have my national show. So my national show goes out in the morning, 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon. Then I get over here. And normally, one of the things when you do satellite shows, like if you hear any of the shows or any of the national shows, whenever they do their show, they're done, right? So if they're done, they send it off. But I do something different. I update my show, especially if big things happen. Well, nothing ever happened with Biden, like ever. The things that did happen rarely had to do with him. They mostly had to do with like Afghanistan or something like that. I will probably have to do an extra 70 shows at the rate we're going. Since Trump's been in office, I'm doing at least an extra 2 or 3 shows a week because it's just, he's on. So I do a show for the West Coast, basically starting at like 3 p.m. And so last night I was up just working, doing stuff, and I'm just like, it's just nonstop. You know, and the other thing is, as I was talking to my friends, if you guys know who the chicks on the right are, very conservative ladies, love a mock and Daisy. They were saying, you know, with Biden, they prep for the show because they do it very early in the morning. They prep for the show the night before, get up and see if there's anything that's changed, and then get onto it. But even after 8 o'clock, they just go. So you never know what's going to look like in, you know, the next day or the next few hours when it comes to Trump. Like even today, like, right, you've got tariffs. What about tariffs? What about this? What about that? You got Supreme Court still waiting on yet another case to come down with Mahmoud Khalil. You've got tariffs and the you know, China coming back and there's no quiet time right now, which is not always bad, but sometimes I got to be honest, it can be a little bit exhausting. There's no doubt about that. Steve and Dan are mad at me. What'd they say? They called me Richard, which is fine. I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Like I said, you're negative. I'm not negative. I'm honest. Should want that. Like last night I did a video and I said, the frustration I have with a lot of people is we should want honesty. And I find that more and more you're not getting that from, you know, we talked about the media bias. It's on both sides. Everybody goes to their area. They want to be affirmed. They want to hear what they want to hear. They want all the rah-rah, none of the negative, or all the negative for the other side. None of, you know, we shouldn't want that. We should want the truth. And Ken and I always talk about how hard it is trying to find out pretty much damn near anything when it comes to the truth. Because you got to do so much research and digging. It used to be you could go to 3 or 4 places and they're going to give you the info, but now everybody's an activist, which is frustrating as all get out. Bill Maher, I didn't get to this earlier this week, but this was interesting. So he was talking to Chris Cuomo about Trump and going to meet him and just why he's just so much different than every other politician ever.
Trump really interesting. Is one of the most effective politicians, whatever you think of the policy and him as a person, just as a politician, just understanding that always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away. And that kind of nobody else does it. Truth.
It's the reason, you know, people are always fascinated. How does a guy who is a billionaire, who grew up with, you know, with a golden spoon, who was on the back pages of all of the papers in New York as the Playboy billionaire, he was Arthur. He was, you know, I love Arthur. It's a great movie. But he was a lot of that. How does he connect with the common man in such a way that others who live in a world of academia, then into politics, they don't know how to react. They can't read a room. They don't know how to react to the basic human instinct of whether it's fear or laughter, whatever it is. Trump can go in there, read a room, and decide this is where I'm going to go. I've seen Trump give several speeches, and I will tell you, they're not all the same. Some of them, you know what? He goes out and he goes, all right, I can go really far with this crowd tonight. Other part, just like a comet, maybe not as far as I did last night. Maybe I got to go in this direction, in this way. That's what makes him not a politician, but great at being a human and reading people.
I mean, look, I've been his biggest critic. And when he got reelected, I said, I'm not going to pre-hate anything. And then the first week I said, well, there's lots of things I hate. Okay, there's some things I don't hate also. But the way he can kind of make me go, oh, man, like when he did that thing where the guy came in from the Taliban and he said, this is an aerial picture of your house. If during our withdrawal, one American is hurt, just know I know where you live. I don't care. It's Donald Trump and he's the worst person ever, blah, blah, blah. I love that.
And you know what's great? He didn't tell that story. Trump never told that story. There was other people that told that story and got out there. And I think that's a perfect example of Trump. The way that he held his press conference when he killed al-Baghdadi was just, and watching them next to Barack Obama, when they juxtapose the two, he's Osama bin Laden, just it's very proper and prim. And Trump's like, he died like a dog. And everybody who's
didn't he back off of saying that though, because there was an army dog that got injured and he didn't want people to think he was
he's like, our beautiful dogs went in there, and you see it's just, but the way that he did it, it was like anybody else telling the story of what happened. And that's why he resonates so much.
One time they were doing something was going on with, and he said, you know what, when you come after New York, you got to go through me. It's like, oh, hometown boy. He has those moments that no other politician has. And the Democrats have to find that guy.
They need a message. And then you find the messenger.
That's the worst thing. The Democrats always say, message. Message. Yeah, first of all, they did, and they don't like it. Second of all, they don't give a shit. It's not about the message. Trump changes his message from day to day. Tariffs everywhere. Tariffs nowhere.
He's right. You love Trump. For many of you out there, you love Trump. Some of you probably need a little help. But you do. You love Trump. And the message does change. And I know because all you have to do is watch when the market collapsed the other day and juxtapose that with a lot of other people out there, that when the market went down under Biden, people are like, this is the worst day ever. When it went under Trump, this is good. This is what we want. This is totally fine. It's like, and that's the way he has with them. They'll follow him. And he changes his message, but you love him. So you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. The guy jumps in crap, comes up smelling like roses.
His message is, I'm me, I'm strong, and I'm daddy. They're on this daddy thing, and people want a daddy. But you know what? That's what works, and that's what people respond to. They don't know the issues. They don't know the facts. And they have no interest in learning about them. They're like an animal. They're instinctive. Like, I smell fear, or I smell alpha, and they smell alpha.
Well, anybody was alpha compared to the guy that was there before. But he doesn't pull back. He doesn't. He wants to do what he wants to do, and he's going to do it. He's been this way with, like, tariffs is a perfect example. He's been this way with tariffs forever and a day. Now, 30 years ago, this way with tariffs, and NAFTA and the whole thing, it was a little bit different than it is now because not only how global we are, but because of technology has done a lot that would have, I think, still, if we wouldn't have outsourced a lot of these jobs, would have put a lot of people out of work. But he is who he is. And that's why he's genuine. And that's hard to find because, man, all of us here, right, Ken and Ben, we've all met politicians. I don't have them on my show because, quite frankly, I don't like them. They're full of crap. You never know when they're going to... you never even know what they're doing in real life. And you meet them and afterwards you're like, ugh, goodness me. And some of them are good people, I think. But it is a tough thing because you know that they're going to say whatever they need to say to get your vote. Trump was going to say that, but he's going to do it in such a way where you feel like, you know what? I kind of like you, though. It comes across in a much different way. And he understands humans because he can pivot. He realizes abortion, that helped me get elected last time, but you know what? May get me kicked out if I don't figure something out. So I'm going to pivot and go this direction at this point in time because I'm reading it. It's the 80-20 rule that everybody talks about. 80-20. 80% of the time, these people will support this. Trump's going to be there. It's a smart thing to do, no doubt about that. Speaking of Trump and the administration.
At a hearing that lasted nearly half an hour, federal judge Paula Sinise repeatedly asked a Justice Department attorney what she called basic questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what has the government been doing to get him back? DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign said he couldn't answer those questions. In response, Judge Sinise said she'd require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Abrego Garcia and to facilitate his return, saying the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for both. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News at U.S. District Court in Greenbelt, Maryland.
You know what makes me laugh? It's like, so you got to report in every day? Yeah. Where is he? Well, Judge, we were hoping you knew where he was. Like, we were thinking maybe you were familiar with this because we have no idea.
We put him on a plane and he vanished. That's all we know.
Yeah. We talked to El Salvador and they said, nah, we have no idea either. So you have no idea? So that's a, shocker. Do you think they're going to try? I don't know if they're going to get that guy back. Because if you get that guy back, in Trump's mind, that's a defeat.
Yeah, I think he would view it as a defeat, but also he could use it to his own benefit.
Well, he still has orders to be deported, but El Salvador was not it. And somebody said, if he's not a gangster, then why did he fear it? Well, he may have snitched. You know, he may have been a witness to something. So there's probably a myriad of reasons why that he, could have been wanted or could have been accused as a gang member. I don't know what any of them are because the due process side of stuff, and that's what, and a lot of people get mad because they think, well, they're not here legally. They should have zero due process, and that's just not who we are.
Well, and Trump is the guy who always likes to say, I can get things done immediately. I'll get it done in one day.
Yeah.
Make the phone call to the El Salvadoran president and get it done in one day.
Yeah. Somebody said that. He goes, somebody tweeted in or texted and said, Trump's biggest problem is he said he could fix all of these things on day one, and they're not fixed. And some people are, well, I thought you could fix it on day one.
Yeah, his own hyperbole bites him in the ass sometimes.
Of course. But that's what you do. You're a politician. You throw out the hyperbole, although sometimes it's a little overdone. But you throw it out there because you want to make sure that everybody knows how great you are.
Yeah, it's not like the guy's going to stand up at a rally and go, well, I think maybe in 9 months I could possibly have it starting to get better. But that's not his personality. No. He comes out and goes, I'm going to handle it.
Yeah, day one. In fact, before I even get there, it's going to be done. Why isn't it done yet? Because this is going to be better. That's always like, this is going to be better. Like, you're going to like this better. What's going to be better? I don't know. I just had to tell him that. Coming up, we got some fun stuff. I don't know if you've heard about this kid in Maryland who was a little upset about what was going on in his classroom. We'll talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff ahead as well. If you missed any of the show, shame on you. Grab a podcast. Check us out across all our social media. Like the YouTube page because it helps Chris's kids get enough money for them to not go to a work camp, but to baseball camp during the summer. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Text the word Benson to 989898 today for Birch Gold. They're going to help you, get you out an info kit, talk to you about why gold is important. If you guys don't know this, you know what's not tariffed? Gold. Gold's not tariffed. Silver bullion and gold, not tariffed. The opportunity is in front of you to protect yourself, your savings in times of turmoil, inflation, the potential for something of who knows what. It is a great opportunity for you to protect yourself. And my buddies over at Birch are going to show you how easy it is to take your IRA or 401k and get it to a gold-backed IRA. It's that simple at no cost to you, but also why smart money and banks are heading to gold, and they have been for years, for centuries. That's where, when things got a little uncomfortable, gold was the place that was the safe haven. Text the word Benson now to my gold company of choice, which is Birch Gold. They're a client, and they're also people I buy my gold from and have long before I became a client. Text the word Benson now to 989898 for Birch Gold.
All right, drivers, got the left lane blocked by a crash 24 westbound right before Almaville Road. And in Woodbine, TDOT reporting a crash 440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. And in Franklin, TDOT says there's a crash blocking the left lane 65 southbound near Murfreesboro Road. And we've got what came of today's hearing over the man wrongly deported to El Salvador coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
This one's for you, Ken. It's a crazy, and this person is so crazy. And by the way, you'll hear the Olympic music because this person is a victim of victims. If you want to talk about intersectionality and checking every box in the history of ever, ladies and gentlemen, the winner.
Wow.
I am everything that Donald Trump and Elon Musk want to erase.
Wow. I am like, if you hire that person for your work, you've checked every box.
Including hiring a cancer.
You know what? Well, first of all, that's a walking lawsuit right there. Secondly, she's never showing up at work because every day something's going to be wrong with her. But if they say, what's your diversity like? You're like Steve Linda over there. That's our diversity. Steve Linda, you're black, you're native, you're Filipino, you're Japanese, you're gay, straight, you've been wounded, you're on the spectrum. You are, and just check every box.
Yeah.
You're trans, but you're also regular.
Yeah. Non-binary.
But binary at the same time. Oh, my Lord. I love crazy. Here's one more crazy. This person wants somebody else to take out. Remember assassination culture?
Is there not someone out there with a terminal illness that's willing to do it? I mean, I'm sure people are willing to help. If you're willing to do it, I think that there are people willing to help organize it.
These people are nuts.
What, is she calling for assassination? President Trump?
Yeah. Because they won't say shoot or kill or assassinate it, Trump or Elon. It's always unalive or do it. You know, will you do it? Is it possible for you to do it? Now they want somebody who's dying, so that way if you go and do it, you'll be a hero, but you weren't going to live a long time anyways.
I'm sure somebody can help.
And the other day, those people are like, we'll send you naughty letters in jail. Well, if you're so, apt to do something, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. How does this affect them? Well, it doesn't. Nobody wants to do it. They all want somebody else to do something.
Yeah, but never forget that getting naughty letters in jail makes up for not having your freedom.
Yeah. And by the way, whoever's doing whatever they want you to do, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I have a feeling in prison, those naughty letters, well, you're going to be the naughty letter in prison.
Yeah.
As you're passed around with your low T.
Lights out.
Did you guys hear that yesterday martial law was trending everywhere?
Are we not under martial law?
No.
I thought we've been under martial law since January 20th.
No, it is April 20th is when the left says martial law is coming in because Trump's going to say tariffs are out of control. And because they're out of control, people are going to rise up. And so we're going to take away everybody's gun. This is, again, from Blue and On. And that they're going to come and they will take over and usurp the police everywhere and make everybody follow whatever Trump says.
So that's supposed to be in 9 days?
Yeah.
Well, that's a ridiculous time frame. I mean, you don't even have time to get a manuscript written for a book deal before you start. I mean, that's just nuts.
Everybody's going to be too high to take everybody's guns on 420.
Well, it's 420, right? Like, of all the days to do it, nobody would even know. That would be the perfect day. Dude, when did all these people get here, bro? Oh, my God, these army men. Are you guys seeing them, too? No way. For those of you guys who don't know, 420 is that. It's when you get high. See what I'm saying there?
That's big old getting high day.
Yeah. It's also Adolf Hitler's birthday. So that's a weird way to get high.
It just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Gets better and
That's why he's doing it. You know, the left's out there is like, the reason we're doing this is because he's just like Adolf Hitler. Just like him. He's mean to us.
All the way down to the hair.
All the way down to the hair and the mustache he doesn't have. Coming up, we're going to talk about this crazy story to Baltimore. But a kid who asked a question, which is nuts. I mean, nuts. How dare you ask a question? Talk about that. A bunch of other goodies to get to as well. Somebody said earlier I said, why don't we, make sure you get a bunch of likes on here because Chris's kids, they're getting paid per like, if you will, and on the YouTube. And somebody said, nah, let them go to work camp. I thought that was mean.
It's never too early to learn a trade.
Oh, Lord.
Like, Daddy, why do I have to go to this? Because it's time for you to learn to weld.
Yeah, it's time for you to learn to weld.
It's called camp.
Oh, jeez. It's Chad Ben's Show, Super Talk 99.7.
.1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, drivers got a crash blocking the left lane. This is going to be 24 westbound before Almaville Road in Smyrna. And then 440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. Got a crash there in Woodbine. And then 65 southbound near Murfreesboro Road in Franklin. Well, the case of a Salvadoran man accused by the government of being an MS-13 gang member was back in federal court in Maryland today. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with the latest.
At a hearing that lasted nearly half an hour, federal judge Paula Sinise repeatedly asked a Justice Department attorney what she called basic questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what has the government been doing to get him back? DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign said he couldn't answer those questions. In response, Judge Sinise said she'd require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Abrego Garcia and to facilitate his return, saying the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for both.
Friday, White House press briefing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt asked about a deal with China over tariffs.
Why is he optimistic that China's going to make a deal or wants to make a deal? If they're not talking, where's that optimism come from?
He's optimistic.
U.S. and Iranian officials meeting tomorrow for high-level talks on a nuclear deal.
All options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay.
And Leavitt asked about President Trump's feelings as U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg today, discussing an end to its war in Ukraine.
He wants the war to end. We believe we have leverage in negotiating a deal, to a peace deal, and we're going to use that leverage, and the president is determined to see this through.
And an American pastor kidnapped at gunpoint in the middle of a sermon in South Africa. Police say it was 4 armed and masked men there in Mothertown Township. Local media identified the preacher as 45-year-old Josh Sullivan of East Tennessee, Maryville. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Sunday morning, we wake up in the 30s. Afternoon, we're back in the 70s. Under plenty of sunshine. Monday, we'll make a push back to your 80s.
Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air. Right now, make sure you join, and I say this every day, and I mean it, join the famous Beehive Club. Doesn't cost you a lot. What you get with it is incredible. Not only you get great deals, but you get pushed to the front when it comes to all the things that you need done in a timely manner. Because we know when things go sideways, you don't want to be waiting for hours. Busy Bee's not going to leave you hanging. Whether it's plumbing, whether it is your air conditioning, especially this time of year as things start to get a little bit stickier, muggier, hotter, you don't want to find out one of the hottest days that stuff isn't working and they can't get there because you're not part of the Beehive Club. They're going to come out. They're going to take care of you like you could not believe. Whether it's plumbing, heating, and air, they've got you covered across the board. Do this. Call them today, 775-7833, 775-7833. Have them come out, take a look around your HVAC and your ducts, make sure everything's nice and clean. And if you got any issues with plumbing, well, definitely call 775-7833 or visit them online at busybhvac.com. Carolyn Levitt earlier today, you'll love it at Levitt, talking about the SAVES Act. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but the SAVES Act passed yesterday, passed the House. And she was asked about it because, you know, this is the voter ID.
Well, the SAVE Act, as you mentioned, was passed by the House yesterday. This is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. I believe I'm getting that correct. And this act is a common sense measure. It would require proof of citizenship for voting in our elections. The Democrats have been fear-mongering about this bill, have been saying that married women, if their name has changed, they didn't change it on their identification, would not be able to vote. That is complete fallacy. There are outlined in the bill about how to avoid that. The president very much supports a common sense solution to ensuring that only citizens can engage in our elections. This is critical to improving the integrity of our elections and also the trust that American citizens need to have in our electoral process. So the president supports this bill, and that is a myth that has been proven wrong by the text of this bill. And I believe some of the co-sponsors of the bill have been very vocal in addressing that. And certainly I myself, as a married woman, would not stand before this podium if the president did not support such a common sense measure.
Common sense. So we talked a bit about it yesterday, and I said it's probably not. It's not going to get to the Senate. It's not going to happen. But they passed it, and then I got an email early this morning. I'm racist. I just want everybody to know that. I'm like, exactly. I'm not saying your show's racist, but exactly. I'm like, really? Really? Like, you got that? Why? I said that. First of all, I always ask, why are you afraid to have ID? And why is it the fact that when you ask people, hey, everybody should have an ID, okay? Because you're an adult, and as an adult, you should have an ID. Like that's like one of the things that you should do. And why is it that it's only one side of the aisle that continually thinks that people of color, because that's what we're talking about, are not capable of getting an ID when they all have an ID for the most part? But somehow I'm racist for that. It's an interesting thing. Speaking of interesting, imagine this. And this story is going to be bigger and bigger next week as more and more outlets pick it up. Kid sitting around school going, hey, where's the American flags?
After serving a 7-day suspension, Towson High School senior Parker Jensen returned to class on Tuesday.
So this kid he got kicked out of class and suspended for 7 days because he was not seeing American flags anywhere in the school, which is a law in Maryland and Baltimore.
And ready to fight back.
I think it's very important, and Mr. Jensen feels the same way.
Sarah Spitalnik is a Baltimore-based attorney who just filed this lawsuit against Baltimore County Public Schools, America's 22nd largest school system with a nearly $3 billion budget.
I would definitely say it's some kind of bullying.
Spitalnik claims in the complaint filed on April 3rd that BCPS acted unlawfully when it suspended Jensen for a week.
Do you believe Jensen's constitutional rights were violated?
Absolutely.
I'm joining the Marine Corps, and patriotism has always been a big thing of mine.
So here you see a high school kid. He's 18. He's only taking a couple classes because he's almost done. He's going to join the Marine Corps. He's sitting in class and looks around and goes, there's no flags, and you have to have American flag in the classroom. That's like one of the things. And there isn't any. And I'm curious as to why there's nothing.
Project Baltimore broke the news on Monday.
Yes, sir.
That on March 28th,
yes, sir,
Jensen withdrew from his class and drove to the Baltimore County Board of Education building, hoping to speak with district leadership about missing American flags at Towson High School.
I believe that this is the main entrance.
According to Baltimore County School Board Policy 6307 and Maryland Education Code 7-105, an American flag must be displayed in each classroom. But Jensen said some classrooms at Towson High did not have flags. So he went to the Board of Education to find out why and recorded much of his visit.
I have a Towson High School lacrosse shirt on.
I have my student ID.
But Jensen did not get answers. Instead, BCPS called the police.
3 cop cars for a kid.
And the 18-year-old was told by Richard Muth,
You're actually suspended from the school.
the school safety emergency manager, that he was immediately suspended for 7 days.
He went, asked to see a school board member to ask a question. Not a bad kid. Hey, I'm pretty patriotic and I'm looking around and I don't see a flag. Why don't we have a flag? He films it. He doesn't go in there kicking the door in, said America, and none of that stuff. They called the cops on him.
He was summarily suspended without any due process whatsoever, which every student in Baltimore County and Maryland has the right, and they stripped him of that within 5 seconds.
Baltimore County Public Schools declined to comment on the lawsuit, but BCPS did tell Fox 45 News in an earlier email, as of April 1st, flags have been installed in the classrooms that did not have them. In the lawsuit, Jensen asked for his suspension to be vacated, along with monetary relief from BCPS for damages. Spitalnik fears the suspension could negatively affect Jensen's grades and future. Jensen is set to report for Marine boot camp in August.
Yes, sir.
But if he decided, after serving in the Marines, to go to college, this high school suspension could affect his college application.
We're still pushing to make sure that he has the most successful and active senior year he possibly can.
I'm still fascinated by the insanity of no common sense. I think that's the best way to describe it. There's an insanity right now. There is a plague of people who've lost common sense. Rather than go, hey, you know what? You seem like a good kid. Look, you're right. We need to put those flags up. So let me get on that. And, we apologize for that. That's it. Rather than do that, what do? You call the police, and now it's being picked up everywhere. And, of course, the influencers, especially on the right, are getting a hold of it. The left will ignore this. And coming after this, coming after this school board. And this is Baltimore, by the way. Baltimore, one of the worst school districts in the country, where they had a kid that scored like a 15 or an 18 in math in one of the tests, and he was like the high watermark. This is what we're talking about. This kid seems to have it all together, but hey, let's make an example out of him.
Because there's one more aspect to this. As of now, because of his suspension, Jensen cannot attend senior prom, which is scheduled for mid-May. If the lawsuit is successful and the suspension is vacated, he can attend.
He got suspended for very little cause. He did nothing wrong besides try to bring forth his First Amendment right and really enforce a Maryland law, which is to have American flags in every single classroom.
When the police were called on Jensen at the Board of Education building on March 28th, BCPS threatened to charge him with trespassing. But as of today, that charge has not been filed.
So you suspended him, you've charged him with nothing, you've done nothing, you gave him no reason for his suspension, and you stomped on his rights. How do you think this ends for you? Anybody? Poorly. I would assume poorly is how it ends for you. Let me know if this is you guys out there. Maybe it's you, Ken, maybe it's 38%. The average person in America starts to panic when their phone battery hits 38%.
That's rookie stuff. I don't even care until it gets to 15.
Yep, new study nationwide revealed the striking difference in how various demographics handle low battery situation. Average person stats are 38. So, a third of Americans, 34%, stay calm until their battery dips below 20%. Even more surprisingly, 1 in 8 people, 13%, remain unfazed until their phone battery plummets to below 10, truly living on the edge of digital connectivity. On the flip side, a quarter of Americans, 24%, begin worrying when their phone drops to half power, which is crazy. They said anxiety levels rise. Gen Z respondents reported the earliest onset charging anxiety, which is really weird. right around 44%. Once that battery hits there, they start to panic. Millennials, closely, they start losing it right around 43%. Gen X, more relaxed. Baby boomers, they don't really care because they don't use the phone like that. You know, it's not like I understand if you're a little younger why you might, because you do everything on your phone. I get that. If you're a little older, it's like, you know, you have a job, you're actually working, you shouldn't be on your phone.
To baby boomers, a phone is just that. It's a phone.
It's a phone.
To Gen X and above, it's a computer with the phone app in it.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because to baby boomers, they've probably answered their phone. Gen Z, if the phone rang, they probably wouldn't even know what it was. You could talk to somebody. What? What do you mean I could talk to you? Yeah, there's somebody on the other end of the line. You could talk to them. They could say, hi. Although, you know, they use video conference, right? That's their big jam. Because when I'm walking down the street, I'm always seeing people videoing, having FaceTiming somebody or whatnot. It's weird that they won't talk on the phone, but they will FaceTime.
Yeah, my son, he'll have like 2 or 3 of his friends up on his phone.
But see, it's people they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Just people they know. It's just his friends.
It's got to be people. Otherwise, if you don't know them.
If you don't know them, they're out.
Oh, goodness me. 38%, though. Like, I could tell you right now, my phone, I haven't charged it since yesterday. I'm at 45%. I feel zero worry that my phone's going to run out of juice.
I got 67.
Yeah, that should last you. How long is that going to last you?
It'll be 10% by the time I get home tonight.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you watching stuff on it?
No, I just have a lot of alerts.
Oh, those damn alerts. Speaking of that, what's the weather like this weekend?
Nice.
Okay, good.
Sunshine, temperatures in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, goodness me, that sounds delicious.
How you like that, dude?
I like
80
that.
degrees for the high on Monday.
So, that is beautiful. That is gorgeous, man. Double shorts. Might be flip-flops day. You don't know.
Be a good day to take the dire wolf for a walk.
It would be a great day to take that dire wolf for a walk.
All around the White House lawn.
Somebody just texted in. They're at 5%. I don't worry until it's dead. I'm 50. Still use my phone all day. I get freaked when mine's at giggity, 69%. I got 36%. When do you get nervous, though? Because it always feels like it gets down there, and you know when I start to go, is when it gets to the thing where it goes red.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay. Because that seems those last 15 go like that.
Yeah, mine does that at 15, too. But mine lasts a long time on 15, man.
Yeah.
I'll forget about it, and then I'll look, and it will be 7.
I know. It's great, the battery. But then you know when it starts to die is when it starts to heat up, and it goes really quick.
Yeah.
Can't hold a charge. Oh, these phones. What are we going to do now? Our phones are going to cost $28,000 because of China's tariffs on us. Good God, man. What are we going to do? Coming up, more stuff. It's a Friday. We're having fun. We got a lot of good stuff still to get to that's non-political, which is always a good thing. We got a lot of political crap. We can talk a little bit more about that next hour. But we'll have some fun with attorneys. Well, at least this guy thought he was using an attorney. Tried to fool the judge. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Jeff Benson Show, Super Talk, 99.7. Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff packed into an amazing supplement you give your dog on a daily basis. And I give my dog Rough Greens every day. It's a scoop a day. Take the 90-day challenge with Rough Green and get a Jumpstart trial bag that will last you a bit. It's only it's a $20 value, and it's only going to cost you shipping. It's so cool. Don't change the food that you feed your dog. Watch what happens over 90 days. You're going to notice energy levels through the roof. Fur, shinier. The coat's going to be better than ever. Their digestive tract is awesome. Immune system's going to improve. Heart health's improved. It's truly like getting a new pup. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today. All it's going to cost you is shipping. That's just a few bucks. And take the 90-day challenge. Go to roughgreens.com. Use my code CHAD. RUFFgreens.com. Use code CHAD.
The Justice Department says it cannot account for the whereabouts of a man wrongly deported to El Salvador. This story and more at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, we already have the Gulf of America.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Peter, I appreciate it.
A bird
just landed on my head. What is going on? Was that a bird? What was that about?
I did not like that at all.
Peter, the back of your head, your hair's standing up now.
I mean, you got good hair, though.
What is going on?
That's probably so dirty.
Had to be scary.
It's probably so dirty.
Right.
Did he say dirty? Yeah. Scary.
I know.
Hey, President Trump, if you're watching upstairs, we got to do something about these birds.
Absolutely.
Where's the Park Service? The parks, they're always out here sweeping the street and blowing, except when the birds are landing on my head.
Elon laid him off. That's why there's no Park Service anymore. You guys got to do it yourself. That was Peter Ducey in live TV today when the pigeon decided to land on his dome.
A pigeon?
Oh, my Lord. Right on the dome.
Sounds like somebody's been feeding that pigeon.
Yeah, not afraid of people is what I'm saying. This is spectacular. This guy apparently tried to pull one over on the old courts.
Shut that off.
Judges on a New York State appeals court were not pleased after realizing that a plaintiff was using an AI-generated avatar to argue his case.
May it please the court. I come here today a humble pro se
All right.
before a panel of 5 distinguished justices.
Hold on. Is that counsel for the case?
I generated that.
I'm sorry?
I generated that? That is not a real person.
May it please the court that I am... It's like you could tell it's a robot. You couldn't get somebody to, don't you put a little earpiece in? And, hey, may it please the court, I'm here. You should think this guy didn't vote. By the way, the judge is biased.
That is not a real person.
Okay. It would have been nice to know that when you made your application. Okay? I don't appreciate being misled. So either you are suffering from an ailment that prevents you from being able to articulate, or you don't.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I had to notify you. I'm representing myself. Do you think Lori Vallow's going to do this? Maybe that's a Lori Vallow thing. If it pleases the court.
Court records show that Jerome DeWald didn't have a lawyer to represent him in an employment dispute. DeWald later apologized in writing to the court, saying he hadn't intended any harm. Originally, he tried to generate a digital replica that looked like him, but he was unable to accomplish that before the hearing. He said he hoped the AI avatar would deliver a more polished argument without stumbling over words or mumbling.
If you want to have oral argument time, you may stand up and give it to me. Shut that off.
Woo! How'd it go in court today? Not well. My AI court...
My lawyer stinks.
Lawyer sucks. Oh, good God. How soon until, because I know in some lower courts they've tried to thought about using AI. I don't know if they have or haven't yet for like misdemeanors or like traffic violations.
Interesting, man.
That is interesting.
I mean, can you do that?
Well, constitutionally, I don't think it's in the Constitution, yay or nay.
I mean, there's a lot of human interaction in a courtroom.
Yes.
That I don't think AI can.
Well, you can't read faces.
Exactly.
And you can't tell. But the thing is, AI should be able to pick up certain things that humans wouldn't, or would be much more non-biased, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's a point.
It is. It's going to be interesting to see. But if you're going to use an AI lawyer, get a better one than that guy. If you're missing the show, grab the podcast. Chad Ben Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Here's what happened today in the hearing in the case of the Maryland man the government wrongly deported to El Salvador.
Clearly frustrated by a lack of answers from the government, federal judge Paula Sinise says she'll now require daily updates in writing about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's whereabouts and the administration's efforts to facilitate his return. The judge called those basic questions, but Justice Department lawyer Drew Ensign said he wasn't prepared to answer them. The judge said she wasn't asking for state secrets, just for the status of one man, whom the government acknowledges it shouldn't have sent to El Salvador.
The judge said that she'll now require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Garcia and to facilitate his return, saying the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly on the need for both.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Uncertainty over tariffs leading to more sell-offs today. The trade battle between the U.S. and China escalating, with 125% hikes on U.S. imports now set to kick in tomorrow. The White House signaling it's waiting for Beijing to reach out for talks. ABC's Karen Travers says any deal with China appears to be far off.
These are very complex conversations that take place anytime a U.S. president meets with the president of China. When Trump and Xi or when Biden and Xi have met before, it was months in the making, just for a sit-down meeting, just for a phone call. So this is not necessarily a pick up the phone and chat and try to work this out. There would be a lot that would go into it, and the White House is very much indicating they're waiting for their phone to ring from China.
In the last 6 days, the S&P, where Americans have their 401ks and retirement accounts, it's lost nearly $3.5 trillion.
Here in Tennessee, sad news to report from Percy Priest Lake. The body of a missing kayaker has been recovered. 73-year-old Don Slusser of Pittsburgh and his wife, they were camping at 7 Points, and he went missing while kayaking during yesterday's storms. A lot of people going to be sad to learn of his death. The Slussers are well-known marathoners and considered to be world record holders for most miles run by a married couple and more than 300,000 miles. We're following reports that an East Tennessee preacher was kidnapped at gunpoint in the middle of a sermon at a church he runs in South Africa. Police say 4 men broke into the Fellowship Baptist Church there in Motherwell Township last night, stole 2 cell phones from members of the congregation, then took away the pastor in his own truck. According to the Fellowship Baptist Church blog, 45-year-old Josh Sullivan, his wife Megan, and 2 children arrived in South Africa in 2018 to run the Motherwell branch. And in the blog, Sullivan listed his contact address as being in Maryville, Tennessee. And reports say the Vols' 5-star quarterback Nico Iamaleava did not report to spring practice today. ESPN writer Pete Thamel says Iamaleava's been in talks about a new contract right before the transfer portal opens. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Tariff struck. Very strucky in the tariff world. China has come back. Hit us with tariffs. Double hit us with tariffs. We hit them. They hit us. We hit them. They go high. We go low. They go low. We go high. That's what's going on with China. Came out today. Xi had somebody tweet something for him. Basically said it's going to destroy both sides. mutually assured destruction of the economy.
China now raising import taxes on goods from the United States to 125% as the tit-for-tat trade war escalates even further. The announcement from Beijing coming hours after Chinese President Xi Jinping said there were no winners in a tariff war. China faces a 145% levy on some of its goods imported to the United States as President Trump zeroed in on China as a target while pausing tariffs on dozens of other countries. In announcing the latest tariff hikes, China's Commerce Ministry again said China would fight to the end. But the statement also suggested this might just be China's last tariff increase, saying if the US raises rates higher again, China will ignore it. Britt Clennett, ABC News, Hong Kong.
So ignore it, meaning they're just going to deal with whatever happens from here on out, I guess. I keep asking the question, and I'd like to know what the end game is here. The end game of all of this. If we really believe that China is all of the things that we're told, which I believe, and I'm not talking, you know what, it's not about the people. But it is about the Communist Party. And the Communist Party wants to dominate the globe. They're not our friends. They're not. Before Xi, yes. Xi is a Mao. He's a Maoist. This guy is all about Mao. He wants to use the stuff money-wise that they get, the technology they steal, et cetera, to build and grow the strength, the tentacles, all of the things when it comes to their reach. But what's our end game? I think it's a fair question. We're great at getting into all kinds of things, but Trump spread it out, kind of haphazardly went into some of these things. And I'm great with China if we're going to do this, but what is the end game going to be? Is it we're going to completely decouple from China and we're going to look at them as an adversary now? Or because they don't even pretend to hide what it is they do. I mean, they don't. So what is the end game for us? Because why would we want to continue to work with people who want nothing to do with us? Because there is no altruistic thing that's going to happen if they drop their tariffs down to zero. Nothing's going to change. They're still going to want to be China. So I think it's a fair question. Like, what's the end game? Because I don't hear many people talk about that. I don't hear many people talk about what the end game might be. What I hear is, well, we're going to get these tariffs, and this is going to be great, and it's going to bring in all kinds of money. Earlier today, Carolyn Levitt, you'll love it at Levitt.
That money coming back home will make America in the green rather than in the red, which any small business owner across the country, I believe, can appreciate.
Which would be great. But is money pouring in every day? I think there's just a lot of confusion. And, why are we tariffing certain people, not tariffing others? Why is certain things exempt? I mean, it's again, I think some of this stuff was rushed and haphazard when really it was about China. Yes, and I know, as we've talked about, you're using these tariffs as a way to say to everybody else, it's us or them. But what is the end game? Because I've asked a bunch of people, geopolitical folks, trying to get my buddy Gordon Chang on next week, who is maybe the voice when it comes to China, the authority, understanding it better than maybe anybody on the planet, and who Xi is and who they are, the government itself. But I don't know what the end game is, because we know what they want, global dominance. We know they're pretty much willing to do anything. And Xi is in a position where if things don't go the way he wants, you don't think he'd strike out? You don't think maybe he'd look over and take the opportunity to run at, I don't know, Taiwan? I think that we don't ask enough questions about, well, it's to get us into the red. It's to get us, it's to get us out of this. It's to get money back in our pockets. Okay, that's great, but do we think that they're cheaters, liars, right? Do we think that they're hell-bent on global dominance? Yeah. Okay, so you just want tariffs to go down to make it even so we can balance a trade deficit that is, that you feel is completely unbalanced. Okay, now what? There's still all the things, right? It's not like, all right, guys, take all the tariffs off and no more subsidizing. So no more subsidizing, because that's what they do. That's the other big side of it. They subsidize in a massive way many of those companies, ours and that go over there and elsewhere, as well as theirs. And they're willing to eat a lot of that because of the way they handle their currency, which is their currency is only inside their country. You're not getting it anywhere else. So they're able to do so many things to manipulate that currency to keep it the strength they need it to or weaken it when they want to. Currency manipulation is not new. But what is the end game for Trump? Because we know they want to dominate the globe. They've made it pretty serious, overtures to not just Taiwan, but now you look at the Panama Canal, and several other places that they're making an effort to spread their tentacles out. They're claiming every sea that they happen to be in is theirs. They're not our friends. They're not our allies. So what does it look like? What do you think the end goal is? Let us know. Text us. Chris says, make no mistake, the Chinese people live in China also hate us. Some of them, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if they all hate us, but there's no doubt their nationalistic thing is they love China, and they will do anything for China. Manufacturing back to the U.S. I understand what you're saying. I don't think that's going to happen the way that people want. To bring in the manufacturing, because we're just not going to bring back. If we're going to manufacture in this country, it's got to be stuff that matters. And our services are far more important to us. Defund China all we can, But it's a question that I don't hear anybody really asking. What is the actual, are we just going to completely decouple? How do we do that? And how do you incentivize our businesses to move their business elsewhere? How do you incentivize that? And people say, well, bring it home. Well, here's the thing. So you tell Apple to bring everything home. So if you don't want a $3,400 iPhone, you're going to what? You're going to have to give them subsidies. Now we're talking about giving them subsidies and giving them cash or giving them certain breaks. Now you start getting into all the billionaires are getting richer. Yeah, but nobody wants to pay $3,400 for an iPhone. So it's that weird situation where, because if we onshored a lot of manufacturing, the cost would go up long before the wages caught up to it. So there's a lot to think about there. So a lot of you chiming in about what you think the end game should be. Drugs back in the USA, and not those kind of drugs, because drugs are bad. No country will attack another country under a Trump presidency because he is so strong. So, okay. No, I think if we backed him far enough into a corner, I would not put it past him to attack Taiwan. But here's a perfect example, right? And some of you guys probably aren't going to like this. The great game about, oh, well, we're going to be strong with China. Well, Trump just totally, absolutely did a 180 when it came to those NVIDIA chips, the ones that are so important, the supercomputer ones, which we had basically said, no, you guys can't buy any of these things. Then the president of NVIDIA spends $1 million hanging out with him at Mar-a-Lago. And the next thing you know, Trump reverses course and says, yeah, you guys can sell those things. No, the H2O, which is like water, but it's not what it is. Those things are, those are national security things. I just wish there was a plan. I feel like it's, fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing. And I get you go with gut, but I was watching somebody yesterday go, do you remember when George W. Bush said he went with his gut, and then everybody in the world made fun of him for that? And he was a laughingstock. So this will be interesting. Let us know what you think it's going to be when it comes to the end game, where you see us in this situation and scenario. Because for me, I'm not quite sure. I think for us, we would, if we're really this serious about it, we take it on and we understand what's coming, and we decouple and we incentivize our big businesses to move elsewhere. But I don't know. I don't know what the end game is going to be, because I think every day it's a new situation where maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that, maybe we will, maybe we won't. Speaking of Trump, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Back in court, SCOTUS.
At a hearing that lasted nearly half an hour, federal judge Paula Sinise repeatedly asked a Justice Department attorney what she called basic questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what has the government been doing to get him back? DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign said he couldn't answer those questions. In response, Judge Sinise said she'd require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Abrego Garcia.
Do you think that they're sending anything? Dear Judge, still can't find that guy. Do you have any leads? Signed, government.
Dear Judge, we made a phone call. Nobody picked up.
The guy who has him is going to be here Monday. Hopefully I'll get some FaceTime with him. Hope you were doing well. Tell the kids I said hi. Send a postcard. Oh, my Lord.
Hey, that's in writing.
It is in writing. Did you want me to type it up or send? I would send a postcard every day.
Just send over your handwritten notes in an envelope.
This is for the judge. We are really, no, honestly, we're trying hard. We can't find this guy.
The hardest we've ever tried.
We are
especially having to write a report every day.
I've been making phone calls, right? I'm randomly calling everybody in El Salvador going, have you seen Mr. Garcia? Anyway. No? Oh, jeez. Ooh. And we're still waiting. Is it Mahmoud Khalil? They're supposed to. Do we know anything about that?
Haven't seen anything on that yet, Brother Chad.
The only thing I've seen is a reaffirmation that he's fighting deportation.
Yeah. So there's some interesting stuff we'll get into next week about the power of Israel and the pressure they're putting on the administration and asking them to essentially look at anything anybody's ever said about Israel online who's a student here that may make them anti-Semitic or some sort of supporter of Palestine and Hamas, which it goes back to, it's about the power of your friends sometimes and allies to get you to do things. Some more fun stuff coming up, because you know what? We can't just be off, because that's no fun. It's Friday, right? So we got some Friday fun stuff coming up, bunch of other things to get to still. Reach out to us across all the social media. Let us know, what do you think the end game actually is? If we really think China is the evil red dragon, because it should be more about decoupling then and protecting ourselves than anything else. Talk about that, a bunch of other stuff straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch gold. Why gold? Well, first of all, there's no tariffs on gold. Secondly, and this is important, geopolitical issues. Wars are still going on. Uncomfortable truth that these tariffs are going to take a bite. And on top of all of that, the potential for recession. So what do? You look for gold. Safe haven. It's been around forever and a day. It's not going anywhere. Birch can help you with that. They're my gold company. It's who I buy from. Text the word Benson to 989898 today. They're going to get you out an info kit. They're AAA rated by the Better Business Bureau. They're super A+. They're like the best around. They're going to treat you great, but they're just going to give you the info. They're going to show you how you can move your IRA or 401k over to an IRA back by gold, and why gold is a great way for you to potentially hedge the possibility of things not going the way that people think. It's a smart thing to do, to ask some questions. Get the info kit. It's free from Birch Gold. Text the word Benson to 989898 for Birch Gold.
Well, a judge wants daily updates on how the Trump administration is facilitating the return of that Maryland man wrongly deported to El Salvador. We'll tell you about that at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We did this story earlier this week. More's coming out about it. It just fascinates me. And this is about a foster mom who did something that was so insane. And if you guys haven't heard this, she's fostered a lot of people, but she wanted to make a trade.
It's a 70-year-old Winfield woman investigators say may have fostered more than 200 children is facing charges related to child abuse in Lincoln County.
Prosecutors are looking into an allegation that she offered to trade one child for a monkey.
A monkey.
Maybe the kid just wouldn't listen.
Well, the weird thing is, so they're in Missouri, and she had already farmed the kid out to somebody in Texas.
Authorities are also looking into an allegation that when the child was sent to Texas, Deutsch made an offer of letting her friend keep the child in exchange for a monkey.
We'll have to do some deeper dives into hopefully their communications to see if that trade was actually for consideration, if that was for the purposes of human trafficking. And we don't know that yet, but it is an allegation that's out there that we need to look into.
That's bananas.
I like that. Look at that. We need to get you a touchscreen in there.
I was told last year we were getting one.
You were told a lot of stuff.
That's true.
All right.
By people I no longer trust.
So if you guys don't know, so you know, Bell's got all these screens in front of him. He's got 6 screens in front of him. So if he wants to go do something, instead of going over and just touching the button, you got to find the mouse. Okay, where's the little thing? And you got to move it over to where it is. So, you know, it's a tape. There's a little delay going on. I can't believe this person. First of all, why is the kid already in Texas?
Apparently, the teenager was sent there to take care of somebody's exotic animals, from what I understood.
And then how do you get to the point where you're like,
you know what? Just send me one of those monkeys and you can keep her.
You want a monkey? What kind of monkey you got? Well, you know, I don't know. Just a monkey.
An exotic one.
I'm not giving up a kid for just anything. I mean, it's insane. And 200 kids. That's a person that will never have a job. Their job is fostering kids.
Yep.
Getting money, giving those kids nothing.
Yeah.
And, oh, God, that is just disgusting.
We have a request on the super text line, Ken, and it is, I quote, quit monkeying around.
Oh,
Ken.
look at that. That is just horrible.
But yeah, back to your point, it is horrible that this woman was allowed to do this.
Well, how did the girl?
This is Missouri.
How did the girl get to Texas, end up being kept there for as long as she was, and nobody from the state ever went and said, "Hey, where's this girl?"
The foster care system is, and I know I hear Cameron talk about it a lot, it is a system that is broken. I have never been to a state where the foster system was great. Every place I go, it is broken and busted. The people that are trying hard, you know, you'll get some good people that are out there working hard, but by and large, it's somebody with way too many cases, and they just it gets away from them. And then there's just people that are, this is just a gig, right? No, these are people's lives. These are little people's lives, and the better that we handle their lives and help them, the better chance they get out of the system and never return to a system where they go from the foster system to a prison or a zoo. Where this, you know, like Bell said, the fact that nobody noticed really that the kid was gone for a while.
Yeah.
And 200 foster kids. It was great. My mother fostered for a while. But luckily, my sister had so many babies, she didn't need to worry about it. But it was like she fostered for, like, she did 2 or 3 times she fostered, and she said, I'll never do it again. It was the worst experience of her life, and it had nothing to do with the kids.
Yeah, it was the bureaucracy.
System. Yeah, the system. The system was awful. The system was, the minute you get through all the crap, they'll send you stuff like immediately. They'll send you people like immediately. They don't care. They'll come by. They're like, yeah, you know what? They'll tell you, so-and-so, their mother or father's in jail. We just need you watching for a couple days. Don't worry. The parents don't know where they are. And the parents showed up like an hour later. You're like, are you kidding me? The system's broken everywhere. And if we don't do something about it, because there's way too many kids in the foster system right now, it is going to be a run-on straight from foster care into prison. That costs us all money, and that changes lives.
Yes, sir.
We got to do better. Coming up, let's have some fun. I got some wacky women. And you guys remember Peanut? Peanut. Remember what happened to poor Peanut? And Fred. We always forget about Fred.
Peanut the squirrel?
Peanut the squirrel.
I thought Peanut was dead.
Peanut is dead, but Peanut's legacy may live on. We'll talk about that as well. It is Jeb Bench Show. Super Dope. 99.7.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. TDOT says there's still a crash 440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. Also 440 eastbound near the Granny White Pike overpass in Green Hills. And we've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Well, here's what happened in the hearing for the case of the Maryland man wrongly deported to El Salvador. That hearing today. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
A lawyer for the Justice Department said he needed more time to answer what the judge called basic and straightforward questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what is the government doing to get him back? Judge Paula Sinise said the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for the administration to provide details on its efforts. She's ordered daily written updates, saying at this point she's seen no evidence that anything has been done to facilitate the man's return. It's a fact she called extremely troubling.
Sad news out of Loudoun County in East Tennessee today. Crews have reportedly found one body in the search for two missing teenagers who jumped into the Tennessee River on Wednesday. And here in Middle Tennessee, crews have recovered the body of a kayaker at Percy Priest Lake. 73-year-old Don Slusser from Pittsburgh was reported missing by his wife around 8:30 last night after he disappeared as the storm moved through the area where they were camping. ABC News asking White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt if the president's waiting for China to make the first move to start tariff talks.
I'm not going to comment on communications that are happening or may not be happening, or either way. We'll leave it to our national security team to get these discussions underway. And as always, in the effort of transparency, we will provide updates moving forward. But the president has made it very clear he's open to a deal with China.
And what about those high-level talks tomorrow with Iran on nuclear weapons?
All options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Sunshine on our Saturday, chilly Saturday night into Sunday morning. We wake up in the 30s. Afternoon, we're back in the 70s. Under plenty of sunshine. Monday, we'll make a push back to
USSTN.com. If you got issues where you're looking around, you're like, we got foundation issues. Maybe we got stuff inside our crawl space. We may even have a situation with all this rain and everything dries out. You don't know what's going on in your basement because you've had some cracks. Are you worried about mold? You should be. Wood rot? Do you need structural repair? Well, let me tell you something. Stay ahead of it. Get in front of it. Call USS today. United Structural Systems, over 30 years experience in basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement stabilization, foundation repair. You name it, they do it. They're going to come out. They're going to give you an inspection. It's absolutely free. And they're not going to sell you anything unnecessary. It's about getting ahead of something before it snowballs and becomes something so big that you're like, oh, no. Call them today if you have any worry whatsoever. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. Or check them out online at USSTN.com. My goodness, Phil, I'm done. Good God, MyPillow. I'm going to sleep better at night, not because of Bell, because he just freaks us out, but because MyPillow's got you covered. Springtime is here. You got Giza Dream Sheets, which are amazing. If you don't know what Giza Dream Sheets are, they're incredible. So right now, Michael Liddell has a massive deal going on when it comes to his sheets, right? So this is while supplies last. Giza Dream Sheets, ultra soft, breathable sheets, luxurious satin weave. It's like you're sleeping on $1 million. 10-year warranty, 6-day money-back guarantee. Queen size normally $139.98. Now yours $69.99. King size $79.99. Per Cal bed sheets. Chris Cool Punk, absolutely my favorite because I sleep hot. 100% long staple cotton. Perfect for people like me, and I bet many of you who sleep hot. So check this out. $89.98 normally for queen size. Yours $29.98. King size $34.98. 10-year warranty, 6-day money-back guarantee. Take advantage of this, but it's while supplies last. Visit MyPillow.com/Benson. Use the code Benson. Grab these wholesale deals right now. MyPillow.com/Benson. Promo code Benson. Free shipping options available. MyPillow.com/Benson. Oh, my name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff. Oh, Jiminy Cricket. You know what?
Can we just call this the end of the show and
This
leave?
is the end of the show. We're just going to hang out. I'm going to sit here. We'll just BS a little bit. Guys, if you're looking for love and you have any conservativeness in you, this may not be the lady for you. Sit back and relax. You're going to enjoy this one.
Story time on how politics ruined my last relationship. So let me set the scene for you. I was dating this guy. We've been dating for 5 months. And in those 5 months, I was told by my friends, Zoe, he lives in Indiana. He's a fucking Republican. I was like, politics don't matter to me. Boy, was I wrong. And so I was like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm going to get to know him first. We'll decide later. So then we kind of start talking about it. I'm a very liberal woman. So I am obviously... like, very much everyone knows that I'm a liberal woman. My brother's gay. All my friends are gay. Also, like, abortion rights, female rights, But anyways, so I would, like, always ask him. I'd be like, what's your politics? Like, where do you lean? And he was just like, well, like, socially, I'm a liberal, but economically, I'm a Republican. That, okay.
All my friends are gay. Everybody's gay. Everybody knows gay. They want to be gay. If they're not gay, we're going to make them gay. It's going to be the most gay thing ever. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Like.
Old man, that's the first red flag, because if there's a 28-year-old man and he's single, there's a fucking reason that he's single. But anyways, so then I'm like, well, like, what makes you, economically Republican? Because, like, I could give you a whole bunch of fucking facts right now that prove that you shouldn't be. And he was like, all of his info is from his friends. And I was like, you get all your information from your friends. Obviously, you can't trust them. You need to do the research yourself. And if you do the research, I told him, I was like, I'll support you based on your decision if you actually research it yourself. Like, I won't care if you're a Republican. But anyways, and so he was like, Zoe, I have much better things to do than research politics. Like, I have way more important things to do. Okay, saying that to me is absolutely insane, but go off, King. I also just didn't care at that point.
Now, if you're thinking, oh, man, that's crazy. Oh, don't worry. I've got 3 more of these to get to.
That really got out of hand fast.
Oh, it's going to get even more out of hand. Oh, my God. So let me tell you guys something. So I was like, oh, and there was everybody gay. And then it was like, what? And I was like, oh, my God, it can't get any more.
And so I kind of put it on the back burner. I was like, I can't fucking take this right now. Well, then we get into a little spat a couple days before election day, and we almost broke up. And so I was like, nah, it's fine, I'll give him one more chance, blah 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 blah. Well, then election day rolls around, and actually before this, he was not registered to vote. He had never voted before, and he told me that he wanted to vote in this election. And I was like, okay, cool, do the research, but that's a whole other thing. And so the voter registration deadline was approaching. I could tell he was going to vote against me, let's just say it like that. And so I was like, he is not going to make an educated decision on who he voted for, so guess what? I'm not going to remind him of this voter registration deadline. So then it passed. He didn't register to vote, so there we go. It was saved. He wasn't going to vote. I wouldn't have to deal with it then. But then we got into that little spat, and I was like, let me try one more time. Let me see if he's learned anything from me.
I just want to say that I would not even really slow the car down before I pushed her out.
Oh. What happened to him? He died.
Oh, man.
Okay, guys. If you think she's done, she ain't even close to done. Oh, hold on to your your hats and glasses.
And I asked him point blank on election day, I'm like, so who would you have voted for if you would have voted in this election? He was like, I would have voted independent. And I was like, do you know that how harmful and basically wasteful that is? And also, like, check your privilege by saying you're going to vote independently. And he was like, wow.
Check your privilege?
I cannot believe that you think my vote would have been a waste. Shut the up, because it is a waste. Look at Philadelphia. All those independent voters could have put us over the edge and could have helped Kamala win. That's another story.
She calls voting independent privilege, but her implication that he owes the Democrats or the Republicans his vote isn't privileged.
No. It's just, let's just finish it. She's just fantastic. Let's get it one more. I can't believe they didn't make it.
And so I was like trying to tell him, I was like, listen, that's harmful. You have to make a decision because the way that our voting works, like the two-party system, is a joke. You have to pick a side. The independent party never has a chance. So you have to pick a side. And we got into a huge argument about it. And I was like, you know what? This. This is my last straw. Again, I'm a very liberal woman. I have to date someone that is on the same page as me because I can't disagree with someone on something that is so important to me for the rest of my life. I fully respect Republicans. I understand that you want to vote that way, but for me, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to date you. So
I fully respect Republicans.
And no regrets. I've been single ever since. It was awesome. It's been awesome.
No, what
a clown.
No. You're single. Get out of town.
How could a woman that endearing be single?
I'm shocked. James Carville, what do you think?
There are too many preachy females in Democratic campaign culture, all right? And we come across to people as judgmental.
You think? You think? Oh my God! Like, so let me tell you guys something. It says like, oh my God! Like, and then I was like, and she was like, oh, and I was like, no. That is insane. This woman is why OnlyFans and Pornhub is so profitable. It is respect she can't spell. She's single. Say it ain't so. And you know what's funny? It's like, I just have to be with somebody who believes everything I believe. Because let me say something.
The sound effects were what was killing me.
I just posted something on the old Twitter I think you guys will like. My buddy sent it to me. He goes, we're a week away from seeing I stand with China and the Chinese flags in people's bio.
Oh, yeah.
That is funny.
Can't believe we haven't seen it already.
Oh, my God. Somebody says, I feel dumber listening to her. Yeah. She is, I can't believe she's single. And if you guys want to know, yeah, she's hot.
That's the kind of person I want to look at and go, honey, you got to stop trying to think because you're terrible at it.
Yeah, it's hurting me. It is hurting me. We moved to something real. You guys remember the story of the great, and I say late great, Peanut, passed away violently at the hands of the evil people in New York City.
The death of a viral social media squirrel is inspiring new legislation in New York. The animal was a rescued squirrel named Peanut, who gained widespread popularity on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. After being found orphaned on a Manhattan street, Peanut became the face of Freedom Farm Animal Sanctuary, a nonprofit rescue operated by Mark Longo, the same man who originally saved the squirrel. But in October of last year, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation raided the Longo residence, seizing Peanut, citing multiple public complaints about keeping wild animals as pets and concerns about rabies exposure. Peanut reportedly bit one of the officers during the seizure and was euthanized for rabies testing, results of which later came back negative.
So you guys remember that? Like they go and they kill Peanut, right? And was it Fred? There was another one that nobody ever talks about. That poor thing got killed too.
The New York Department of Environmental Conservation defended the raid at the time, claiming it acted in accordance with state regulations. But public outcry over the incident prompted the agency to issue a statement last week about what happened, saying it initiated an internal investigation of wildlife enforcement procedures, adding, "We know we can do better moving forward."
So they've got Peanut's law, kids. It's here now. Peanuts law.
In the aftermath of this, a new bill has been introduced to the New York State legislature, dubbed Peanuts Law.
Today, I have introduced Assembly Bill 7388, Peanuts Law, the Humane Animal Protection Act, because compassion should not be controversial, and animal welfare should never be a partisan issue.
The proposed legislation aims to protect the rights of legitimate animal sanctuaries, as well as establish clearer procedures for the seizure and euthanasia of wildlife. Longo has voiced his support for the bill, saying he hopes it prevents similar cases to Peanuts from happening and ensures animal rights are no longer overlooked.
Poor Peanut. That was a big thing. Remember, like, even Trump talked about it. They killed the squirrel. Why'd they kill the squirrel?
Why'd they kill Peanut?
They probably tried that with the dire wolves. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Poor Peanut. Oh, my Lord. The pizza rat has gone into hiding.
What?
I don't know. Some people send some weird stuff. A lot of people still like talking about our girl. She was awesome. Like, oh, my God. And I was like, negative, and you're like, what?
Also, he was a 28-year-old man. That's the first red flag, because if there's a 28-year-old man and he's single, there's a fucking reason that he's single. But anyways.
Oh, my God, I was doing this, and you were doing that, and I was like, but anyways.
The reason he's single is because he can't tolerate putting up with her garbage.
Yeah. Oh, God, are you kidding me? This is why men are like that. You know, and it's interesting that this was brought up because this is Eric Weinstein the other day on with, what's his name? Is it Chris Williams or whatever, Williamson, or talking about men going to the right. And it's a culture thing as much as anything.
Have you seen the data showing the movement of teenage boys politically to the right? Have you been looking at this?
Well, where else are they going to go?
It's a good question.
I mean, I had a teenage boy. I still have one, but he's 18 now. And I watched them be pushed farther and farther right by their schools. You suck. All of your instincts are bad. These girls are amazing. Look at you. You're pathetic. Be less masculine and more attractive. You're just barking at them constantly. They're not moving right. They're moving out of your stupid way. You've given them what? Nothing. Nothing. One of my son's friends died recently by his own hand. And I don't know what kind of pressures he was put under, but I watched those kids go through this pressure cooker created by this crazy, parasitized, left-wing educational movement. Get away from our sons. Get away from our daughters. Get away from our sons and away from our daughters. It's not left or right. I don't have a Republican bone in my body. Get the crazy people who do not understand human development away from our children.
Here, here. Eric he's brilliant. He's part of that intellectual dark web. But he looks around and he sees what's going on. And then when you hear, crazy girl like that and how, these women are going so far to the left that and just demonizing men, you sit there and you think to yourself, this is a real issue when it comes to the future of our country. Because if we're not going to date and have babies, because I don't know if you're aware of this, the Robarts aren't having babies. We better figure out how we're going to do some stuff. Otherwise, we're going to start to lose folks, and it's going to be a tough time in this country moving forward. Because once you start losing people and you're not replenishing the population, that's the start and the beginning of the end. I'll wrap it up straight ahead right here on the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 997. It's good to see that Bell got it right this time. He played one of your intros. The Matt Murphy, not quite. Oh.
He's a slow one.
That's just my way of expressing how much I miss his show.
Well, we all.
Oh, wow. He's right here, Bell. Gosh.
I'm okay with that.
My goodness.
I'm okay. It's okay. Good help's hard to find.
The Chad Benson Show, a tradition unlike any other.
Unlike any. Ben, our stupid TV. Look at it. That's the Masters right there.
Oh no, that's got to be. Has it been that way since you've been here?
No, it started out semi-okay, and about 30 minutes ago went.
Live working against us.
It is.
We're gonna have to fix that. It might be a better show if it stays off, though. I won't get distracted.
It's hard not to get distracted when the Masters is on. I know
all the names, baby, the names.
Yeah, Rose,
Justin
DeChambeau,
Rose, DeChambeau, Scotty, and McIlroy shot a 600 today.
I know.
He's right back in it.
Yeah, and these are usually the days he craps out.
Oh, no. No, he's back in it, and, 2 bad holes. Otherwise, McIlroy's leading the thing, and then, number 1 player in the world. Love it.
I love it.
Absolutely love it.
Love it. What are you going to talk about today?
You know what? I'm going to get into, I don't know a lot about this subject, or at least I don't know as much about this subject to pretend to be an authority on it, but I'm going to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and autism. I don't, as little as I know about the subject, I'm a little confused about how we can see the levels of increase in autism that we're seeing. And I don't believe that the level increases of autism can be attributable to just more people becoming diagnosed. At the same time, I have a difficult time believing that any government agency can, quote unquote, get to the bottom of anything in 4 months.
Yeah, that's to me.
That's the weird part.
That's the weirdest part with him. Like, oh yeah, we'll have this sorted out in a few months.
We're going to have an answer to autism by September. I'm like, what?
Okay, so like an answer like where you think it comes from, or like we have a solution to the problem.
Right.
And you're not reversing anything, at least unless they've come up with something new. I don't think that's it. You're just trying to find out where you think the problem comes from, And he talks about back in his day, 1 in 10,000. But then you go and you actually look, and you guys know this. I want to find out all the data. It wasn't really the 1 in 10,000. We didn't recognize a lot of this stuff. And the spectrum has grown tremendously.
No, I get that. But I remember driving in when I was doing morning radio in Birmingham. And I'll tell the story on my show, too. I remember driving in and, some of the PSAs that air overnight to fill time. And I remember the PSA changing from like 1 in 190 to 1 in 110 to 1 in 64 in the span of like 2 years. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, just common sense to me. So maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's not. Maybe they're overdiagnosing.
I think
maybe there's more autism. I don't know.
I think it's maybe there may be some more autism, but I also think it's an expansion of the spectrum. It's gone from, nonverbal autism to, Asperger's to all of a sudden now everybody is like, oh, I'm on,
I'm not insensitive to it, but I feel like, there was a time when you would just say, well, Johnny's kind of weird.
That's what we talked about yesterday. Everybody kind of had a kid in the class. It was a little odd. Why does he only want to talk about trains? Right? Like it was one of those things. But, he does his work and he seems okay. Plays kickball with us. He's fine. But, then he always wants to talk about damn trains. I don't want to talk about trains.
And there was also a time where, little Chad, he can't stay focused. Yeah. Chad, you got to focus. Chad has trouble focusing. Now Chad has ADHD.
Yeah.
Or whatever, So, I understand that we diagnose more things and we identify more things as diagnosable. But we'll dive into that because I am ignorant on a lot of this subject. I'm going to lean on the callers a little bit on that one. And then, it's stuck in my craw that we had this quote-unquote covenant manifesto, and we were told that we would get transparency out of this FBI.
Don't worry, Megyn Kelly's got all your transparency.
Right.
With Kash Patel handing it to her.
Right. So we've just changed the winners, right? There's still a lot of losers. The losers would be the American people and the people of Nashville that don't get to see it. Nobody gets to see it but her.
There was a lot of promises coming out. I got a lot of people over the last couple of days going, hey, when do they turn that thing into a museum? When are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? Still waiting for this, still waiting for that. And then they give it to her here locally, going, here, we're going to give it to you.
Especially when Michael Patrick Lay of the Tennessee Star has been in the midst of a lawsuit for 2 years.
Yeah.
Over this. It doesn't sit well with me, so we'll talk about that too.
A lot of stuff coming up. It is a Friday, and it's a Fry-yay. Matt, straight ahead.